and welcome to Unit 10, the review of Tonga disaster. So, we talked about this earthquake, also earthquake, but mainly the Tonga volcanic eruption in the small island nation of Tonga in the Pacific. And due to this volcanic eruption, the country was pelted by tsunami waves. The earthquake, it killed a lot of people, it destroyed a lot of homes. It was really disastrous.
Pelt.
Pelt. And one of the other major things that happened was this cable in the ocean, which provides 90% of the island's communications with the outside world, was severed.
Wow.
And that's happened before. It happened in 2019, unfortunately, that it was cut and they lost internet access for 10 days.
Wow.
So they're really reliant on this one communication cable that goes out from their country. So that was severed, so communication is difficult, and the disaster happened. From the eruption, there was a lot of ash coming out of the volcano, and it contaminated, and from the tidal waves, seawater also contaminated their fresh drinking water. So their drinking water is contaminated, and people on the outside in the rest of the world were really scrambling to try to get help to Tonga during this unfortunate situation. But it is an island, or many islands in the Pacific, and the logistics of trying to get help and trying to communicate and doing all of those things was just really difficult. So it really was a large disaster.
Contaminate.
Contaminate.
Scramble.
Scramble.
Logistics.
Logistics. And hopefully they're doing better now. It's been a little while, so it's been about 2 months, I guess, since it happened. But we are all praying for Tonga. So in your life, what kinds of natural disasters do you worry about the most?
Well, the one I worry about the most doesn't immediately affect me here in Korea.
Okay.
It's volcanoes, actually. I've seen tornadoes, hurricanes, natural fires, sort of an earthquake, you know, but those were never as deadly or dangerous as what volcanoes seem to be. You know, this unpredictable, rabid force of nature that can just kill or displace people so massively for a long period. Now, tornadoes and hurricanes in America disproportionately are some of the worst next to wildfires, but you can kind of be warned about them much more. You can prepare, you can maybe make plans for safe things, but volcanoes, where do you go? You can't quite predict any path of anything, and I know with this specific situation, the smoke cloud that covered the area was, like you had mentioned before, 3 times the size of Korea. Massive amount of area of ash that covered the sky, and lightning storms and all this for a few days right after the eruption. That'd be terrifying.
It would be terrifying.
And like you said, during that time, no internet connection, something like that. I don't know, that seems terrifying to me. Yeah. How about for you?
I think, fortunately, living in Seoul, we don't get a lot of natural disasters, which is great. Hurricanes or typhoons do sometimes come through here,
hit near here.
But they're generally pretty weak by the time they get here. There have been earthquakes in Korea, but not really in the Seoul area. And there aren't any major volcanoes close that I know of, close to Seoul. Really close, but volcanoes can have a large, wider effect. Jeju, yeah.
I think it's an inactive volcano.
But it is down to the south, so it's not right here. Maybe ash clouds, but probably not a lot of fire. And also not a lot of wildfires, because it's mostly city, so there's not a lot of things to burn. So living in Seoul is relatively disaster-free,
Right.
relatively speaking. But I did live in Japan for several years, and I was there when the really big earthquake happened in 2011.
Wow.
And that was frightening. Earthquakes are frightening.
Yeah.
So if you're in an area that is earthquake prone, I think that volcanoes and earthquakes are kind of equally devastating in their just unpredictability and power for destruction. Both due to the tidal waves, they both cause tidal waves
Right.
and buildings collapsing and all of those things. So earthquakes are scary. I'm scared of earthquakes.
Yeah.
Do you do anything to prepare in your ordinary life for natural disasters, just in case?
Well, here in Korea, when I first came here, no, nothing. But I've kind of created this, a flashlight, extra batteries. I have a FM radio, for like extreme emergency situations, or war. But like in Texas and Oklahoma, like where my family lives, we were raised knowing you have to have canned food, you have to have a radio, flashlights, candles. You got to have all this stuff in preparation because every year there's a chance of a big tornado, a massive storm knocking out power for several days. Like that's just part of life.
Yeah.
Do you have anything prepared for disasters?
Not really. I mean, I do have a flashlight and we have candles and other things, but yeah, not so much. Again, Seoul is maybe.
Yeah.
I've maybe been conditioned not to worry too much. And
too comfy here.
It's a little too comfy. So I don't know. Hopefully. Fingers crossed, there won't be any natural disasters in the near future, but that might be something to think about.
Climate change.
Climate change. Okay, and that is all for Unit 10, Tonga Disaster. We'll see you in the next video.